Check one. Can you guys hear me? Just fixing things up on my end. There you go. Let me know in chat if you can see the stream. Awesome. What's up, Jason? Jason says, good evening, everyone. Wintry is doing another horror game, so our outcomes are either die, go insane, or go insane, then die today. Listen, just because it's happened 2 or 3 times doesn't mean it'll happen again. Also, this is just a quick start. I don't believe this is the full game, which comes out later this year. So maybe there won't be a play mode. So maybe there's no opportunity to die. But hello, Meatak. Thank you for chiming in. I don't recognize your name. Do you type often? Welcome if you're new. If you're not, nice to see you. Fobica. Yes, awesome. Death, Center, maybe, Thumper. Hello, welcome. Again, if you're watching the VOD, just skip to the part where I'm reading the book. This is just to catch up with people and to set everything up in the background. But honestly, setup today is pretty simple. It's 4 PDFs, but it's 1 PDF and 4 character sheets that we can read through. It's not a full game, so I don't expect to get too deep into the weeds. As I understand it, a lot of people are comparing this to Blades in the Dark, of which is very much inspired. I have no proper experience reading Blades in the Dark, so I wouldn't know. But ideally, I would probably read Blades first, and then probably come back to this whenever it comes out, I think in October, November, sometime in that season. I did learn a new word today for this stream. Gas lamp fantasy, which is like a mystery genre that leans into the supernatural rather than the steampunk technological route. So I hear this game is gas lamp fantasy, but again, haven't read it yet. We got 90 seconds. Yeah, usually I'm rushing about trying to set everything up, but I think I'm good to go. Just gotta wait for the timer to go down. One of the less eventful pre-streams. Rico's Postmodern Life. Hello. Welcome to chat. Is this a play off of Rocco's Modern Life? Which I haven't seen in 20 years, probably. Yeah, it's so strange to not be in a hurry. It's so strange to not be in a hurry. I feel like I'm all set up. All I'm doing is watching the time tick down. I'm not really rushed today to set anything up. A fair bit kinder than cosmic horror. Well, yeah, I guess. But it's not always cosmic, right? Sometimes it's terrestrial. Caps on was an accident. Are we live? I hear nothing. Oh, there he is. Yes, my name is a wordplay. Cool. All right, let's jump into it. Today. Actually, let me go to the next page so people know what's coming in. Welcome. Today we are going over the game Candela Obscura, which is a game that came out, actually did not come out yet. Did not come out yet. Candela Obscura is a quick start, currently released by Darrington Press, aka better known as the folks at Critical Role. If you're interested in playing this game, or at least reading about it, you could find it. Come on, Chrome tab. Perfect. You can find it on the website, which is here, darringtonpress.com/Candela. You can download the game for free. They have a whole explanation here. It was played this past Thursday, which was May 25th. And I believe the VOD is going up tonight, maybe? We'll read through all this stuff soon, but there's no charge for playing this. You just have to type in an email and you got it. Darrington Press, again, is the publishing company, or the storefront, so to speak, of the Critical Role folk. So check that out if you'd like. And there's also a very handy 6-minute guide on how to play this game, in case you're not interested in seeing me read it for 60 minutes. There's also, and let me just make sure, I saw this just a moment ago. Where is it? Oh, look, it's me. D&D Shorts. Yes, D&D Shorts has already made a 15-minute video breaking down the entirety. Can you see this? Yeah, breaking down the entirety of the game. Well, not the entirety, but a good enough description, and almost better than the description given by the company themselves. So today we're going to read through it. Again, this is just a playtest. Not really a playtest. I'm not really asking for feedback on this game. It's more or less done. Why am I clicking through these like I'm missing something? There you go. So we'll read through it. And that's it. Really calm stream. There's only 27 pages. And there's also... this is the character sheet. No. This is not the character sheet. Actually, we could just look. This is the character sheet. We could just look at. We could just check these when. Oh, this is the player's guide. We could just check these as we come across them in the actual PDF. So let's just do that. Is there anything else I wanted to mention before we started? No, well, this isn't really part of the 99 More series because it's not a real game yet. It hasn't come out yet. Maybe when it's official, I'll look back into it. Let's get started. Oh, actually, I really like this cover thing. The first page looks like this. Second page looks like this. Just neat. It says it releases in late 2023, which is interesting because Daggerheart is also coming out around that time, as I understand it. I don't know if Daggerheart's going through a playtest period, but that's supposed to be their epic fantasy TTRPG that they're probably going to play after Campaign 3. Everybody just kind of assumes. So if this comes out then, and then Daggerheart comes out then, lead game design, Spencer Stark and Rowan Hall. I believe Spencer Stark is somebody who worked with the Blades in the Dark team, or was involved in their writing, and or has made supplemental material for Blades in the Dark, and has credited that game in its inspirations. We have Christopher Gray, Tracy Harrison, and Taliesin Jaffe. Taliesin, of course, being a member of Critical Role. And all of these people are proper consultants. The document within contains depictions of abuse of power, body horror, death, gore, and other sensitive topics. Reader discretion is advised. Welcome, Dr. Fall. Dr. Fall? Yeah, Dr. Fail. I read your name wrong. Welcome, Dr. Fail. Ooh, the art is already good. And there's little notes here. Is this from our descent? Yes, Stair 6. Exciting. Oh, and there's like little things on the side over here. That's kind of handy. This says like if you look over here, it says getting started. And you can see it'll probably scroll through as you read. That's pretty cool. Anyway, Candela Obscura is a horror tabletop role-playing game about occult investigators who hunt down dangerous supernatural forces, making incursions into a world very much like your own. Candela Obscura is also the name of the paranormal secret society charged with protecting the sprawling turn-of-the-century city of New Fair, established setting. A place built atop the ruins of an ancient fallen civilization, still teeming with the remnants of a powerful magic. Always a great idea. Though we've worked to collect knowledge of this magic over the centuries, our understanding of these phenomena is still limited. We know that they come from around beyond our own, but what they want and why they're here, that is still a mystery to us. As part of this organization, you'll traverse the wide landscape of the Fairlands. Cool. So the world is called the city's called New Fair. The world is called the Fairlands, I guess. Facing off against unfathomable horrors within the crowded downtown streets of the Varnish. Don't know what that means yet. Investigating strange disappearances in the cornfields of Tottergrass, even delving into writhing underground ruins of Old Fair. Ooh, I love that's clever. Old Fair is the ruins that the city is built on top of. New Fair is the city that they currently live in. To help us stop these powerful supernatural beings from tearing the world apart. Oop, too far. Safety tools. Though the intensity of the horrors of your adventures is entirely up to you, terror should come as no surprise for any who embark upon an assignment within Candela Obscura. Elements of body horror, human cruelty, violence, death, and the supernatural commonly present themselves to our investigators. Such things come with the territory. In order to help regulate these topics within your group, we strongly recommend that you use safety tools like lines and veils, the X card, and the open door policy. We talk about these every single stream. If you don't know, you should look it up. This is a great way to make sure that your sessions and your campaign do not tread upon the sensitive topics of your group. How to use this guide. The deck information laid out is designed to guide you through your first game of Candela Obscura. Ooh, there might be a play game. The following page covers the important rules to keep in mind when generating lore. As long as your creations fit within the parameters here, you are playing by the rules. If you're a player, read through page 16. If you're the game master, continue on through the example assignment. So first 16 pages are for players and the GM. The GM can read onwards for the next 10 pages. Rico says, by the way, I read somewhere that the trend of the ghost stories and cursed houses, the antecedent to gas lamp fantasy, that's a big word that I don't know, might have been caused by gas, as in hallucinations and illnesses. I can't tell if that's a joke. Maybe? Well, I mean, there's a recent fascination. If we're talking about like how often Gaslamp Fantasy is featured, it feels like, in terms of tabletop RPGs, the second biggest, the second most popular genre behind fantasy, like epic fantasy, combat fantasy, so to speak. It taps into mystery, it taps into the supernatural that people like. Like we can look towards Blades in the Dark and Call of Cthulhu to see how much people like TTRPGs having this mystery factor. So, or magic mushrooms. Let's see the rules. Candela Obscura takes place in a world that resembles your own. The average citizen either resembles your own. So is this like a separate world? Do you come from a world that is not? Interesting. The average citizen neither knows about nor would believe in magic or its effects. Sure, Harry Potter syndrome. There is a barrier known as the flare between this realm and the beyond. Oh, so this is kind of like I forgot the name from Unsleeping City. There's like a border that surrounds New York that separates magic and non-magic civilizations. There are places where the flare is weakened, referred to as thinnings. These thinnings allow metaphysical energy, known as magic, to seep through the flare. The myths, legends, and folktales of the Fairlands are stories created to explain real magickal. Magical, that's a strong way to spell that word. Magical phenomenon. Rules of magic. Magic can become infused in mundane objects, places, or beings, permanently altering them. If a thinning is opened wide enough, creatures from beyond may also come through. Anything affected by magic or from another realm is known as a phenomenon. This looks like an important word. Bleed is the corruptive force left behind by powerful magic. This bleed also radiates from the phenomena that have made incursions into the world. When a person has too much bleed, so too much magical corruption, they may be taken over by these supernatural forces, become corrupted, or die. The manifestation of bleed varies based on the phenomenon. Phenomenon being magic, something affected by magic. People with inherent magic are rare in the mundane world. Many Candela Obscura members interact with magic by wielding powerful artifacts. So, Candela Obscura members don't necessarily hold or contain magic within themselves, but rather wield magical items. Interesting. Members of Candela Obscura are investigators of supernatural phenomena attempting to protect the world from devastation from these dangers by securing and studying them. The organization has a hierarchy that includes a council of lightkeepers who direct the resources of Candela Obscura. The smallest party sent out by a lightkeeper to investigate a phenomenon is known as a circle. The mission is known as an assignment. Okay, so there's a couple keywords here. Maybe we should go over them at the end of this. There are Candela Obscura chapters, local enclaves of many members throughout the world. Each has access via a thinning to the organization's transdimensional vault. Oh, okay. Known as the Fourth Pharos. I don't actually know what that means. Fourth Pharos, oh, it says right here, is the fourth iteration of a lighthouse stronghold that sits within the flare. Oh. Inside there are vaults where the most powerful books, artifacts, and phenomena are kept for safely. The security of these vaults are maintained by centuries-old, constantly turning magical astrolabes. Okay, so let's go over that. So, Candela Obscura is a setting. It's a place. To separate the magical and non-magical world is something called the flare. But supernatural things spread from magical to non-magical through spaces within the flare known as thinnings. These thinnings break forth, allow magic to seep into the world, and anything affected by magic is known as a phenomenon. And anything that is corrupted by this magic is experiencing bleed. When someone experiences too much bleed, they may be taken over by supernatural forces and things happen to them. The Candela Obscura is a group, I suppose, that investigates these phenomenons, getting the words right, investigates this phenomenons and protects it using powerful magical artifacts. A group of members of Candela Obscura working together is called a circle, and these circles belong to a chapter, and these chapters can access the Fourth Pharos, which is the fourth iteration of a lighthouse stronghold within the flare. The flare being the barrier between the magical and the non-magical. So it's like Fourth Pharos is the big organization or the big building. Assumedly the three other lighthouses have fallen. And inside the Fourth Pharos there are many chapters. Inside the chapters there are many circles, and each circle has a group of members that are assigned missions by the Council of Lightkeepers. There you go. That's the setting. Cool. Glad we know now. Great. Next page. Preparation. Now, for people watching this chat, who probably know games better than I do, I haven't read Blades in the Dark yet. I've played one game of Blades in the Dark, and I know the general rules of it, but I don't know the intricacies of those rules. If you know any similarities between Candela Obscura and Blades in the Dark, that is not a coincidence. Blades is credited to be one of the main contributors of this rule set, and the major designer of Candela Obscura also worked on many Blades in the Dark properties. So the crossover will happen, will be similar. That's the nature of tabletop RPGs. What we want to find out when reading this is what separates it from Blades in the Dark. What makes this kind of conducive to the game that Darrington Press is trying to produce or release. We have to understand the context that Critical Role is a company that has a massive fan base that has followed them, and mostly throughout their careers or throughout their productions, they have been playing Dungeons and Dragons. Candela Obscura is one of the first few games that they're releasing to allow themselves to play games outside of Dungeons and Dragons, and also be free of any litigation that other third-party companies might have over them, depending on how they use their games. People might say, why doesn't Critical Role just play Blades in the Dark? Because they don't have control of Blades in the Dark. If something happens to the company that makes, or the creators that made Blades in the Dark, If that reputation is tarnished, then they'll have to switch games again. A company as big and as not notorious, that's the wrong word, and as famous as Critical Role has the resources and manpower to make their own games that they can play without worrying about having to give royalties or anything to other companies. That is a unique position in the TTRPG sphere, and I'm imagining that Candela Obscura, as we read through it, will lend itself to a game that not only is prone to utilizing their players and actors, of course, to the best of their abilities, but also conducive to the actual play live streamed experience. I'm interested in finding out which of these mechanics that we're about to read into will actually be almost catered towards the experience of playing a game that people will watch. Because that's what I imagine these games have kept in mind when being designed. So, with that context, welcome everyone. If you're here for the first time, read along with me. Candela Obscura is played in a series of assignments given out by the Circle's Lightkeeper, a character played by the GM. Each assignment is a mystery that should last between 1 to 3 sessions and come to a conclusion before the next assignment begins. Interesting. So the scope or the breadth of each assignment should span 1 to 3 sessions. They haven't really expressed how long these sessions are intended to be. Usually people in the TTRPG sphere would translate that to 2 to 4 hours per session. That's usually what's commonly accepted. So if these games span across 6 to 12 hours, these assignments last 6 to 12 hours, we're going to look for a game that hopes to limit how long these assignments can go for. All characters or player... Oh, what's up, Cthulhu? All player characters or PCs will need one of the 5 pre-generated character sheets available alongside the quickstart guide. Oh, there's 5? Oh, there is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Awesome. The sheets are Slink, Scholar, Face, Weird, and Muscle. Like that. That's cool. And 9 6-sided dice. You know... and this is just me being a little bit cynical. You know that this game was like, hey, let's make a game that uses 9 6-sided dice and then merch 9 6-sided dice. And, and lo and behold, when this game came out, immediately on the merch page of Critical Role, you can buy sets of Candela Obscura 6-sided dice, which is very funny to me. But, you know, keeping the system to just D6s is pretty inclusive, to be honest. I don't think an average person... Usually the appeal of 6-sided... My PDF is going crazy. Usually the appeal of 6-sided dice is that everybody has them. They don't have to go to a hobby shop to find 6-sided dice. They could just, they could just have them. But 9 6-sided dice per person kind of defeats the purpose of 6-sided dice being like helpful for newer players. Nobody has 9 6-sided dice. That's crazy. You'd have to loot all of your board games to do that. Anyway, 3 of these dice should be of a separate and distinct color. This is actually really fun. I like this idea. This will be known as gilded dice, and the remaining 6 will be known simply as standard dice. So actually taking advantage of the fact that dice can be different colors is really cool to me. Your group will need a circle sheet for the team as a whole, and we recommend supplying field guides for each player to reference during this game. They're also included in the quick start guide. So, every player gets a field guide. This is a field guide. A field guide is the basic operations of the game to understand how to play. And then there's a shared... What is it? Circle sheet. Is this a circle sheet? Here, this is a circle sheet. Oh, so we know now a circle is a group of players. So this is a table that covers the context of the group being together, I imagine. Additionally, you will need a GM to run the session. Yes, we know this. Dice mechanics. Candela Obscura uses the Illuminated Worlds D6 dice pool system. This is kind of funny to me. This sentence in general is very funny to me because there are no other Illuminated Worlds games. This is a future-proofing sentence because as of this current moment, There is no other game that uses the Illuminated Worlds System because this game invented it. It was invented by the people at Darrington Press, which is very funny to me. It just seems like a sentence that will be true next year, not this year. Currently, it uses the Candela Obscura system, which is not shared with any other system. When there is a question of whether something will happen and there is a potential consequence, if it doesn't, you'll make a roll using this pool of dice and take the highest result. On a 1 to 3, the roll is a failure. On a 4 to 5, it's a mixed success. And on a 6 result, the roll is a full success. On multiple 6s, the roll is a critical success. I don't know what Blade in the Dark uses. I think it's something like this. This obviously reminds me of the PBTA system, which I'm more familiar with, where this would be 1 to 6, this would be 7 to 9, and this would be 10 to 12, which I believe are not similar odds, but not quite the same odds. 1 in 6 of a perfect success, 2 out of 6 of getting mixed, which means success at a cost, and 1 to 3, which is total failure with consequences and possibly progression points, I'm imagining. In this system, you can roll multiple d6s. Oh, you'll make a roll with using this pool of dice and take the highest result. Okay, so you always just take the highest result of your pool of dice. And crit success, we're going to keep in mind, because I like this. I like the idea that rolling multiple 6s, which is very rare, is rewarded. But I'm curious how they're going to expand on that. Anyway, actions. Actions represent your character's proficiency at a given maneuver under pressure. Each character can have a rating between 0 to 3, denoting the number of dice you roll when performing that action. The higher the value, the more skilled your character is in that area. If you have no points in an action and decide not to spend drive to add dice to the roll, you can still attempt the action. In that case, roll 2 dice and take the lower result. Note that you can't get a critical success on this kind of roll, even if you roll 2 6s. Okay. So, say you're asked to roll a focus roll. I'm just going to try to understand this. Actually, let's start with survey. If the GM asks you to roll a survey roll, this 1 circle indicator means you roll 1d6 and you take that result. If they ask you to roll sense, since you have 2 circles here, you would do 2d6 and take the highest roll. Now here, if they ask you to do focus, you have no circles. So for a focus, you would be rolling, to use D&D nomenclature, disadvantage, where you roll 2 dice and take the lower roll. And you cannot crit on these because you have to take the lowest roll. Interesting. Okay, that makes a lot of sense to me. And I'm guessing you can choose which of these you want to really specialize in. Yeah, this is what we just did. Again, cool art. Drives. Drives are a resource you may expend and replenish during a session. Like an energy sort of deal. They represent your character's ability to push themselves past their standard capacity. You can spend 1 drive point to add an additional die to a roll of an action that drive encompasses. You may spend as many drive points per roll as you have available. For example, if you're rolling with move, you may spend... If you're rolling with move, did they already explain what move is? What is move? They haven't explained move yet. Okay. I don't know what this word means yet. For example, if you're rolling with move, you may spend points in nerve to add additional dice. I don't know what this sentence means because they've given me 0 context. You may spend points in nerve to add additional dice. I'll come back to it. I'm sure I'll understand eventually. Your dice pool can never have more than 6 dice. All drives have a maximum, which determines the highest amount of points your character can have in that drive. Let me try that again. All drives have a maximum, which determines the amount of points your character can have in that drive. So there's multiple drives. Let me look at the character sheet. Maybe that'll help. Oh, okay. Okay. So let's look at this. So let's say, for example, that didn't work. Okay, so let's say, for example, this move has 1. This circle is filled. If I want to roll more dice, then I would spend one of these little bars. These bars are drive to roll more dice. I can roll as many as I have here, and I would like fill them in and then erase them as I use them. And this right here, this bar, this little part at the bottom, tells me my maximum amount of drive at any given point. So I can never use this unless I somehow increase my max drive count. So if I have like a full drive thing and I have move, but I only want 1 dice, but I want to use 7, I can burn all my drives and that works. And roll 76 and take the highest. Okay. Your dice pool can never have more than 6 dice. Oh, okay. So, correct. I'm corrected. I can't do 76. I can do max 66. Okay. Your sheet also displays the amount currently available, which is the number that will increase and decrease with your as you spend available points. A number player can assist you by spending 1 of their own drive points for +1 drive. 1 + 1 dice. This is though an assisting player can only spend 1 point of drive per roll. Multiple players can help you carry out your action. Got it. When another player offers aid, they should describe what they do to assist within the narrative. It is at the GM's discretion whether or not your circle members are able to help. Sure. Okay. So these are like the 3 stats, I'm assuming. Nerve, cunning, and intuition. So this reads like physical control, brain power or knowledge, and then this is like insight or wisdom. And then these are like, to use D&D nomenclature, these are like skills, you know? So these are the skills that fall under it. So they're going to say roll sway, roll focus, things like that. Cool. Okay, that makes sense enough. Have they explained the gilded dice yet? No, this guy is using... So like, already on page... Yeah, they haven't explained gilded dice yet. So like, I'm not really in the space to correct or criticize PDFs because, you know, I haven't made a game before. But like, these 2 sentences have no context to me. I don't understand what that means, what this means yet. I know gilded dice exist, but I don't know what they do. And they haven't explained it yet. So it's kind of strange how it's formatted. Resistances are a PC's way of pushing back against a consequence. Anytime you don't like the result of a roll, you may choose to spend a resistance from the pertaining drive to have 1 resistance per... No. You may choose to spend a resistance from the pertaining drive. Nerve, cunning, or intuition. Sure. You have 1 resistance per 3 maximum drive. Oh. So on the character sheet, that's these little block. That's these blocks over here. I can't highlight. Yeah, these guys over here are resistance. So if I have like highlighted these 6, I have these 6 boxes like full of max drive, then I have 2 resistances that I can use. It's like 1 resistance per 3 drive. A little numbery, but that's fine. For example, if your maximum drive is 4, but you've spent 3 drive, so now you have 1, you still have your 1 resistance. Okay. After spending a resistance, you re-roll the number of dice equal to the rating of the action used for the previous roll. What does rating mean? Rating. Rating. I don't think they've talked about rating yet. Rating? Oh, here. Each can have a rating between 0 and 3. Okay. There. That's right there. Okay. Great. Equal to the rating of the action used. Oh, okay. Sure. So if you rolled 3 dice, if you use a drive... Okay, let's do a scenario here. You have control 2, right? You're asked to roll control. You get 2 dice. You can use a drive to roll 3 dice instead. So you roll 3 dice. But you don't like what you rolled. So if you use one more drive, so that's that's like a second drive on top of your first, then you can re-roll 2 of them. Okay. It's not too difficult to remember. Oh, and you can roll again if you just keep using another resistance. Oh, so you can't use a drive to resist. You have to use a resistance. Got it. So if you're asked to roll control, roll 2 dice because you have a rating of 2. Roll, spend 1 drive to roll a third one, and then spend 1 resistance if you want to re-roll 2 of them. I'm following. I get it. Abilities are unique moves available to each character. For the purposes of the quickstart guide, you only have 3 abilities available on each pre-generated character sheet. Great. Rolls and consequences. The primary engine of the game is built around action rolls. These occur during moments within the narrative when the results of a player's decisions are unclear. Action rolls should not be used for every move a character makes. The investigators in Candela Obscura are competent and highly trained, more than your average person within the setting, so you shouldn't roll the dice for unhindered actions such as walking down the street or climbing a ladder. That being said, if you're trying to remain hidden or there's a monster chasing you, it's probably going to require a roll to avoid the danger while you do it. Ultimately, it is up to the GM to decide when dice are rolled and which actions are used. However, as a player, you can make suggestions or ask for a roll to achieve a desired result. Remember, this game is a conversation. You are expected to work with the rest of your table to create the best story and game experience together. The GM sets the stakes of the roll. Low, normal, or high. Is there a mechanic behind this? To indicate how dangerous the consequences might be, and tells you which action to roll. You roll the number of dice equal to that action rating, plus any additional dice spent from drive points. We just figured that out, right? And the GM determines how the fiction evolves based on your result. By default, the stakes of every roll are normal. There could be important consequences to failing. The GM may lower the stakes if the situation is safe, or raise the stakes if the situation is particularly dangerous. This is interesting. The consequences of a low stakes roll won't put you in immediate peril, whereas the consequences of a high stakes roll will almost always result in taking the damage or finding yourself in a very difficult position. This is pretty funny. They point at this and say, spelling error. Are you sure you're okay to be back so quickly? I'm worried about you. I'm fine. Thank you for the catch. A little bit of meta commentary. That's cool. So this seems like something that modules will use to indicate how dangerous a task would be. So they would, like, you could formalize and say this is a high stakes roll or this is a low stakes roll. And that means, and they'll describe the consequences based on the stakes. So this seems like it's a tool to help GMs kind of sort through things. Fighting enemies. Candela Obscura favors investigation over violent confrontation. That is to say, though you will fight monsters, and we certainly hope you will fight many, combat is not the focus of gameplay. Just in any other portion of the adventure, when your circle faces off against enemies, your GM will make moves based on the player's rolls. Very PBTA. The consequences of a failure, even a mixed success, might result in an adversary attacking a character and dealing out one or more marks. Damage system. Your GM may surprise you with unexpected consequences based on your result. When making a character, you can choose any of the 5 roles: Face, Muscle, Scholar, Slink, and Weird. I don't know what Weird means. Face is like Charisma, Muscle means Strength, Scholar is Int, Slink is Dex, Weird is... Oh, Medium or an Occultist. Okay, so Whiz-ish. Each role has 2 specialties. Are these like subclasses? That's kind of neat. This is like class, subclass for D&D speak. Okay. This seems kind of redundant. Aren't they like all detectives or investigators? Maybe they're like super special detective? We'll see. Any combination of these roles can make up a group of Candela Obscura investigators known as a circle. Each role and specialty provides starting values for actions and drives, as well as a list of available abilities. For the purpose of this quick start, you will not go through standard character creation. Cool. The 5 included sheets are pre-generated. They only require a small bit of customization. Perfect. After choosing your specialty, fill the bolded circles and take one of the 2 abilities from the specialty list. You already have one from your role as well. Add a name, pronouns, and style for this character. Describe their catalyst, why they joined, and their question, what they're hoping to answer. Good stuff. On character creation, when crafting your character, it is crucial to avoid the harmful stereotypes often present in historical and horror genres. Yeah, there's a long history of this. For instance, if you're creating an explorer, they should delve into their own cultural history instead of appropriating others. Similarly, mediums should not use other cultures' attire as a costume, and doctors should not indulge in historical practices that are rooted in racist and ableist ideologies. Your PC, although PCs may be ill-disposed, tactless, or even cruel, you should always strive to construct your protagonists with integrity. Yeah, I agree. Your characters can be nasty human beings and terrible people, but there's plenty of ways to be nasty, and you could there's so many ways to be nasty that you don't have to lean on these to fuel your nastiness. Have more fun, be creative, get messy in another different way. Connections are the bonds you establish between the characters at the table during character creation. Perfect. I love this stuff. Huge fan of this. Assign relationships between investigators, ask questions about their shared goals, and interweave characters' backstories to foster more engaging gameplay. In the full game, there is a defined method for building relationships. For the quick start, simply write the name of the character and your connection with them. Great, so they plan to have this more fleshed out. Dang, my PDF thing is really glitching. Good. This is like my favorite thing from Masks, that they have a system to plan out the relationships between characters before the game starts, like a proper guide to do that, rather than just assuming the players know how to. For each assignment, choose gear. Great, you have like starting equipment. There's also a blank space you can utilize to take something significant your circle has previously acquired or have access to. Oh, so this is like a little progress thing. So if you pick something up from a previous, assignment, then you can use it on future missions. Neat. Damage is tracked using marks, which is made up of 3 different categories. Body, brain, and bleed. Oh, we learned about bleed earlier, specifically magical harm. So it's physical, mental, and magical harm. I mean, is magical harm explicitly not physical or mental? Maybe it's like a spiritual sort of deal? There are 3 available marks in each category. If you should ever need to take a mark and can't because the track is full, erase all the marks, become incapacitated in the scene, and immediately take a scar. So, I don't have blades to refer to for this, but this is basically how PBTA games do it, or at least Masks. When you fill out all of your conditions, which is the replacement for the health bar, then you're rendered incapacitated. You have to figure out some way through roleplay to remove your character from the scene or make them entirely indisposed. That's up to you. I'm curious what they mean by scar, though. Like, usually people in these types of games, you have like partial failure and failure. Going full fail usually involves progress, like positive progress at the price of whatever happened to you. So scars represent the permanent changes that affect a character. When you take a scar, you'll write down a narrative change based on the nature of the attack that caused the scar. If it's body, it might be a limp or a missing eye. If it's brain, you might become withdrawn or reckless. And if it's bleed, perhaps you're always dripping with black ichor. Ugh. Or your body grows small luminous tendrils where you once had hair. Oh, interesting. Now, this is some game designers might disagree with me on this, but this sounds like a perfect opportunity for like a roll table or something, where you give a whole lot of options that could happen to a character, and they can roll a die to figure out what afflicts them. Some designers will say, hey, that's a waste of space. You shouldn't have to do that for players. But in my head, the whole point of a book is to give me ideas that I can't come up with myself. Like things that I don't want to use my brain juice on. Like I'm spending all of my brain juice running the game. If the book can help me be creative in moments when I do not have enough brain juice to be creative, that is an incredible boon to me. I'm a big fan of roll tables. I feel like it adds excitement to the game because even I, the game master, don't know what's happening next. You must also remove a point from an action of your choice and add a point into a different action to reflect how your character has changed because of the scar they now carry. You can return to the game once your circle gets you to somewhere safe. Now, what I see from this is that there doesn't seem to be... Actually, let me scroll up. Let me just make sure. Yeah, they have... I think they're actually going to go into it. But from what I can tell from scars, and this is just me kind of skimming it, there doesn't seem to be any death result from scars. Like if you get three full marks, and you take a scar, that'll have like a physical or mental consequence and change your character. It's an opportunity for character growth in one way or another. But is there a way to die in this game? It's not really a deal breaker for me, but I'm just curious because people in my chat specifically are invested in me dying during these sessions. So I might come out with it with cool tendrily hair, but is there a way for me to die? Is what I'll be looking through in this book. Okay, circle mechanics. So there's mechanics toward being part of a group. Let me see. After each assignment, the GM asks 3 illumination questions. And for each answer in the affirmative, the circle earns 1 illumination. The GM then asks how many players fulfilled at least one of their illumination keys. These are the prompts at the bottom of the character sheet that guide the roleplay of that specialty and unlock a path towards advancement. If nobody fulfilled any keys, no illumination is earned. If only part of the circle fulfilled theirs, the group earns 2 illumination. If everybody fulfilled at least 1 key, they earn 4. When the illumination track fills, it is erased, and any extra illumination is carried over. Players then choose 2 different character advancements individually, and a circle chooses 1 new circle ability together. The illumination track has milestones on it represented by the bolded circles. Achieving these milestones may cause certain circle abilities to activate. Between assignments, players also have the chance to clear their marks, refresh their drives, and train their characters by spending their available Candela Obscura resources. Oh, so this is like post assignment. Stitch, refresh, train. Huh. Huh. This is interesting to me. Refresh to fill all of one player's drives and resistances. So you're pulling from a party pool to do this. So I'm wondering, is there any way to fill this without going back to the Candela Obscura base? Because what if you have to bounce from one mission to the next and you can't fill up all of your drives and resistances? Like, one player will be at a disadvantage. This isn't like a long rest where it's a full reset of the character. There will be resources missing going into an assignment based on how much resources you have to spare. Personally, from a roleplay standpoint, well, actually, from a mechanical standpoint, you want to do Stitch, because Stitch is what what incapacitates your party. Stitch is the priority, almost always. I mean, from a roleplay standpoint, I might not want someone to reset my Stitch. Refresh is second most important, and train is if you have like an excess somehow. So I wonder how... Yeah, and these resources are not refreshed until the illumination track is completely filled, so use them wisely. Oh, circles start with an amount in each of these resources equal to the number of players plus 1. Huh. I mean, this is an interesting downtime mechanic. I'm not the biggest fan, personally, of illumination keys. Because let's look at it, because I wanna find out. Let me see if I can find one. Illumination key. Where's the illumination key? Oh, here. Illumination key. Oh, okay, good. Good. So illumination key I'm seeing here. Study an artifact. Discuss history. Run into danger. So this isn't bad. The illumination keys are onuses for a character to roleplay their responsibility, like in the actual game. So this is the muscle, or the explorer muscle, very specifically, and you are incentivized to run into danger and or study an artifact to gain a point in your illumination circle, which is this. So if you manage to, during your session, either discuss history or run into danger, you can illuminate one of these, and when you get to these little circles, it's like a little level up. Your circle levels up and you get a new ability. Here, see? So once you get to these little circles, you can choose 2 of these options, which are pretty good. Add 2 drive points. Actually, that's amazing. Add 2 drive points. This one's really good. But I guess take a new ability is good too. Yeah, these are interesting. It's actually I'm seeing how this game pieces itself together. It's actually really curious. I like it. But some people are gonna tell me like, oh, but then you'll just like blades. So I see what they're doing. And I get it. In each of the following resources, fill up both sections equal to the number of circle members plus 1. So you're playing with 4 players. You fill up all of these. So 5. 4 plus 1. And in between assignments, you can spend 2 resources of your choosing. Only 2? Only 2? Interesting. Oh, and I feel like you would have an excess. So you're limited by the number of assignments you do, not necessarily by the resources. Like I can't burn 5 stitches if I wanted to. Well, I can't burn 4 stitches if I wanted to. I can only burn 2 at most. Oh, each player. There it is. I'm dumb. Each player may spend up to 2 resources of their choosing. So if you fill up all the way, okay, that makes a lot more sense. Sorry, this is not an entertaining thing to watch on stream, but basically this all fills up at the start of the game. Let's pretend we have 4 players. This all fills up. You finish a mission, and then every player uses Stitch and Refresh. So then your Stitch and Refresh drops to here, and your train is all the way up to here. And the only way to refill these bars is to advance in the circle. So you have to reach one of these illumination points to advance. Which honestly doesn't seem that... With 4 players... 2... 4... So it's 10. You need 10 illuminations to level up. So... If everyone filled a key, that's 4. So at the end of a mission, you can get 4. You can get 3 illuminations from the illumination questions. What are the illumination questions? Here. Did you contain or destroy a source of bleed? Did you provide comfort to those affected? Did you bring something back of importance? Oh, okay. So these are pretty generic questions. So you can earn up to 7 per mission, is what I'm understanding. Okay. That's actually reasonable. Oh, look at this. More meta talk. What ended up happening to her? Did she go unabridged? Unabridged? Ooh, spooky magical word that we don't know the meaning of. And then just spooky language that I'm sure people are going to try to decode. It's okay. I'll worry about that some other day. Scars and the legacy of harm and horror. When a PC takes a scar, we encourage the player to look deeply at their character and consider the way they might change throughout the campaign. You might say, my character was injured and now walks with a limp, so I'm moving a point from move and putting it into survey. My character has new mobility constraints and experiences pain, so they will be slower on their feet. They will also be more observant of their surroundings because they want to avoid danger or protect their fellow circle members from harm. Equally, you might decide, my character was injured and now walks with a limp, so I'm moving a point from survey and moving it into move. Huh. My player is afraid of being injured again, so they know how to get out of the way of attacks and are quick on their feet. Because they're experiencing a new fear as a result of their injury, they're more focused on moving quickly than staying observant of their surroundings. Hello, Sailing Master. Don't worry, there's always a VOD. When you make choices regarding your player's injuries, remember, people are affected by harm in a myriad of ways. Disability and mental illness are facets of the human experience and are not convenient narrative beats behind evil actions or evil people. Players should build their characters with care so they can explore the world of Candela Obscura to the fullest. Due to the legacy of harmful mental health representation in the horror genre, we would like to clarify. Brain marks represent mental and emotional stress. In the same way, a week of long work days, a friend receiving an injury, or witnessing a death, violent or otherwise, would weigh on a person in your world. Candela Obscura members face stressors and traumatic events that impact them beyond the immediate moment. If a player takes a brain scar, consider how the traumatic or stressful events they've experienced will affect them long term. I've only heard stories about these. Did you see one? Yes, she nearly took my arm on the Western Cliffs. I have one of her teeth in my office. Is that a reference to a picture? Oh, up here. A strixen. Its mouth spits down the throat. Its mouth splits down the throat, allowing it to swallow large animals whole. Spooky. And these are other ways scars may manifest. Got it. In our experience, role-playing insanity is neither ethical nor mechanically viable. I'll agree with that. Sometimes being there's madness and there's insanity, and like I've had mixed experiences with madness. I like things that force my character to act differently, but not to the detriment of the fun of the other players. I think there's a lot of really lame madnesses, like I have a god complex, or I want to sabotage another character. Those are insane. Those are insanity in boring ways that like don't conduce fun at the table. IMO. There's more creative ways to do it. While bleed scars may seem removed from this discussion, you should treat them with similar care. The addition of magic does not make the experience of harm any less human. Furthermore, we often analogize what we don't know, rituals from other cultures, sacred rites, and practices from traditions that aren't our own, to be strange or mystical. Yep. When in fact crafting that magic in your game, we ask you to design with empathy. Every table is different, and many may not appreciate having deeply sacred symbols, artifacts, and rituals fictionalized. Yeah. I feel that. Ooh, wow, look at this art. This is sick. And cool, they give examples. Look, hero complex. Hero complex is like way better than god complex. Hero complex is like a weird self-obsession. Got it. Cool. Nice. I like all this. Great. The setting. So this is all setting stuff. I'm not sure if I'm going to read this on stream because this is nice and long. We might come back to this. Let's see what else this book has. Lore. We'll see if we can come back to these. They're really setting this stuff up for like whoa, look at this map. That's sick. Scarlet Wood, Brittlebourne Mountain, Seasway, Vast Chasm, Glass Sea, Haven Hills, West Wreck, Stentorian River, Tottergrass, Verge. Sick. I really enjoy that. And this is Candela Obscura. Shyla is on this list and I'm not. Very funny. Oh, other organizations. There's a lot of lore. It seems like the mechanics of the game are done. As in, like, that's all you really need. But this is good. Whoop. I'm part of Whoop. Huh. 1883. So this is placed in a. They said turn of the century, so this is placed in 19th century. 19th century what? I don't really know, but interesting year to pick. Ooh, sick. Okay, so well, dang, that's all for players, and then This is like the GM guide. So they explain threats. Oh, they explain threats to body, brain, and bleed. That's kind of cool. And important NPCs. I won't read through this in case anyone actually wants to play it, but this is the hook. Don't read it. If you don't want to, if you intend to play it, don't read this. Hook. Each mystery in Candela Obscura begins with a hook. The starting section of an adventure where the characters are not yet part of the action. It usually works best to frame this introduction like the start of a television show or movie, or getting a preview of the events that occur before our protagonists get involved. In World, the intro represents the briefing of players they have received the Candela Obscura before they're called into the scene. So this is just something you read straight from the start. Arrival. I've never run a game that's not medieval fantasy, so I'm not the best person to do this. But this is encouraging, right? So when you're going to release a quick start, you want people to be able to run it. And this is 10 pages of guide work for someone to actually run a story like this, which is neat. Yeah, like if this didn't exist, I wouldn't feel led to run a game like this. But now that I know all of this exists, it's actually super useful. Cool. Yeah, I'm not going to read through this because I'd rather not spoil whatever the story is. Climax, epilogue. Cool. Beyond this guide. Great work, Ezra. Keep your chin up. XX A. O'Neill. Is this April O'Neill? That'd be pretty funny. Touchdowns. Okay, this is important. As you set off building your adventures within Candela Obscura, we recommend drawing from the same cultural touchstone that inspired us. Books, The Night Circus, Fairies, Neverwhere, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, A Darker Shade of Magic, Frankenstein. I read this. I'm not big on horror. I'm going to tell you guys, I'm not big on horror. I've said it many times. I'm not big on horror movies, horror books, horror films. I like playing horror, but I don't like reading about it. Modern Prometheus, and Sherlock Holmes. Yeah, I've read a couple Sherlock Holmes. Comics, Hellboy, Bizengast, Constantine, Department of Truth, and The Invisibles. Films, The Prestige, I did watch this one. As Above, So Below, Crimson Peak, Penny Dreadful, Ripper Street, and Arcane. Yep. The BioShock series, Bloodborne, and Elden Ring. I have not played any of those. I do know what they are. We would like to tip our hats to the TTRPG Blades in the Dark by John Harper. John's work is an incredible inspiration in both mechanics and tone. It is our great joy to count them as a friend. Should your investigators turn to life of smuggling and thievery, we encourage you to take your circle to play among the scoundrels of Duskfall. Oh, that's fun. Additionally, Vaesen. I've heard a lot about this one. Actually, you know what, guys? I kind of want to read this one in particular because I've heard a whole lot about Vaesen recently. In the context of Candela Obscura, people keep recommending this one in particular. So, by Nils Hintze from the Free League, is a game about beautiful Scandinavian lore. Though set within completely different worlds, we hope that the monsters of the mythic North would find themselves at home among the creatures from beyond the flare. That's the end of the quick read. So, unless you guys want to see me read through the lore in particular, that's pretty much it. Did I miss anything? I don't think so. Circle abilities. Nobody left behind. Oh, these are like party abilities you can tap into during the actual session. Okay. Honestly, pretty good. Like, from the first read through, I can understand pretty much everything. I think playing it out would help, but I can see how this game plays. 9d6 kind of throws me off just a little bit. It seems like a lot of dice, and obviously you're not ever gonna roll 9 dice. It seems like 6 is the max ever, but you need gilded. Did they explain what gilded dice are? I'm gonna look into gilded dice. Yeah, I'm gonna look into gilded here. What's this right here? Gilded actions. If the diamond to the left of an action is filled, oh, this one right here, it means that one of the dice on that roll is always replaced with a gilded die. If you ever take the gilded die as a result, you earn back 1 drive point. Oh, here. This is how you earn back a drive point. In the category of the action that was rolled. So, the only way to earn drive points back, of which you have a max of 6, I believe, until you get more from leveling up, is you take the roll of your gilded die, if it might be roll lower, even if it's like you're risking like getting a lower roll on your gilded die for the sake of getting back a drive point. The drive point can be used later to roll an additional die for something in the future. So are you willing to take a failure or a partial success now so you can have another die to roll later is kind of the trade-off here. And I like that. That's not like, it's like an uneven, it's like an unpredictable risk or exchange. I can appreciate that. There's neither one is clearly better than the other. On page 5. Page 5. No, it doesn't say what gilded dice do. I'm going to control F it. Gilded. Oh, here's gilded actions. Maybe I just skipped over it. Oh, I'm so dumb. Over here it says, oh, you can... I was complaining right here, like, oh, they didn't explain what gilded dice are. They explain it right here, in the section right before it. Okay, cool. Yeah, that was like my main complaint, that they didn't explain what gilded actions were. But that's Candela Obscura. There are 15 pages. No, let me try. Let me try here. There's 7 pages of rules, which is not bad. 7 pages of rules and character sheet explanation. 8 and 9. Yeah. 2 pages on cultural touchstones and understanding how to properly handle scars. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 pages on setting. Candela Obscura and organizations and setting. So 7 pages of rules, 2 pages on handling scars, 7 pages on setting, and 10 pages on playing a game or playing out through running an assignment. That's a good quick start. I have no complaints. I'm curious how they're going to expand on this. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm curious about how they're going to expand on this. I can't imagine that they won't take advantage of being a massively popular company and start releasing modules for Candela Obscura, making sure that they have like adventures people can play or like a long form campaign. That seems like a good long effort. I'm interested in how much they're going to put into this game to make it be a mainstay, because this kind of game lives and dies on company support, on existing stories, in the same way that Call of Cthulhu has a ton of different modules and adventures that has really fueled its play. this game, in order to rival things that already exist, like Blades, like Cthulhu, like apparently Vaesen, it's got to have a good amount of modules. It's got to have the publicity that Critical Role comes with, that makes it obvious that a game like this is easy to pick up and run. Because looking at it, it doesn't seem too complicated. All you need is a demonstration that makes it easy to understand. I haven't watched the first episode of Candela Obscura. I should probably check that out and see if it's actually like comprehensible from just watch. But yeah, good game, good quick start. Looking forward to the final result, and maybe when it comes out, I'll add it to the 99 more series. But Jason says, are they going to make it open source so others can make modules for them? Probably. And it would be great if they have an SRD. The fact that they invented the word Illuminated Worlds intends that they are expecting other games to be made within the same system. But if they don't have an SRD yet to explain what the Illuminated World System is, then that can't be done. So once they announce what exactly is within the Illuminated World System, once a document like that goes out, and hopefully it's some sort of SRD, then people can build on it. And people will kind of be able to ferry on top of the popularity of Critical Role and hopefully profit from that. So Sailing Master says, Horror of the Orient Express may be one of the best modules ever made for any RPG. Where is that from? I'm officially curious. I'd be very bad at running horror stories because I haven't read enough or watched enough to really bring the mood home. But I would love to play in one. So if you can tell me what game that's from, I'd definitely check it out. But for me, that's basically the stream. It's not a full game, and we don't have the author here. So thanks for tuning in. A couple more faces than usual today, which is good. If you're interested in watching more tabletop RPGs, we go through literally a new one every single week until we reach 99 more, which is the end goal for someone who's only played D&D their entire life. So thank you for watching. Have a wonderful night. For people in America, hope you enjoyed a day off and have a great week. Goodbye. I'll call Cthulhu. Awesome. Goodbye.